That Man and His Manga.
Hello and welcome to That Man, That Is Me merchandise, and today we are going to talk Berserk of Gluttony, voted by you guys. That's right, this is one that you guys recommended I check out and review. So, is it worth your time? Let's find out. But before we get into all of that, if you're new to the channel and love all things manga and collecting, from figures to anime and light novels, do me a favour and subscribe and ring that bell so you don't miss out on new weekly videos. Berserk of Gluttony is about a young man who, well, he's down on his luck. Just like with most isekai characters, he isn't really having much of good luck at all. He's got a dead-end job that isn't going anywhere, and hang on a second, this actually isn't an isekai. That's right, this is not an isekai title. However, you wouldn't guess that. This is about a young man named Fate who, well, he's got a dead-end job being a guardsman. That's right, he just guards the gate and he's not very good at it. In fact, he's extremely not very good at it, to the point that, well, everybody picks on him, except for the one girl, you know, that one girl who's just super nice to him and keeps him going day by day. However, he has a special Pokemon skill, that is gluttony. That means he always gets hungry, and whenever he defeats something, that turns into stats and power for him. That's right, this is a straight up fantasy title that has stats. None of this isekai stuff, not even based on a game. This is just a fantasy with stats. In some ways I probably would have preferred it to be an isekai actually. I don't know, I just feel like some of the times this is a little bit more believable when it's transported into another world, rather than them trying to go, oh, this is a fantasy title, but it's still, you know, you still kind of probably should have played Dungeons and Dragons or, you know, Dragon Quest. I don't know, it just kind of feels a little bit weird. I can buy the whole stat thing if it's another world or transported into a game world, but trying to take it as a straight up fantasy title, I don't know. And maybe it's just me, but I kind of felt that this was maybe a way to kind of pad out Volume 1 a little bit, give it a few more pages, because there is a lot of pages of just, you know, gained all of these stats, when realistically the probably could have just said, oh, I feel a bit stronger, or what have you, because let's face it, in most of these things, stats doesn't really matter. Now, of course, you have the other kind of MacGuffin, which is abilities, you know, identify. Oh, I can identify that this is a small acrylic shark. And, of course, all of those abilities stack, because, hey, this is going to be an overpowered character. And that's pretty much the plot. Now, on this channel, I have read many light novels, and I've read many overpowered characters. And you know what? If a series presents itself as just being, you know what, we're just going to have a little bit of fun, we're not going to take this self seriously, yeah, overpowered character. Personally, I'm kind of torn on overpowered characters. If an overpowered character goes from being weak and gradually becomes stronger, fair enough. If it's done as a joke, definitely fair enough. Overpowered protagonists in a comedy setting, you know, that works. That I really like that as a kind of trope. But I don't know, this kind of asks too many questions for me. It's just kind of like the character managed to become a certain age, then all of a sudden he starts getting up more and more powerful, and I'm kind of like, he's a gate guard? Surely he should have been attacking something at some point to kind of get the stats up. I don't know. I mean, I kind of feel like it's like, yeah. Another thing that kind of bugged me with this one was that there was no development in the lore or anything like that. we don't even know what the kingdom's called, I don't believe. It's just kind of, oh yeah, live in a kingdom, fantasy world, get stats, that's about it. And we kind of have that, that's about it. We don't know anything about the character's family, you don't know anything about kind of the world or who governs it or all of these other things. It's just kind of just brought to you, and it's kind of assumed that you already know some of this stuff. It's like, oh, holy paladins. Okay, what's a holy paladin? I've never read a fantasy before. Well, you probably should have. And you should have read Dragon Quest. It's kind of like that. I don't know, I just didn't like it. I mean, as somebody who's read a lot of fantasy and read a lot of isekai, yeah, I knew them, but if this was your very first fantasy or your very first isekai, you're going to be scratching your head quite a bit, because it doesn't really explain anything. Of course, he gets gluttony. What's that supposed to mean? He finds a sword that is made for him called greed. Oh, they might be doing a whole 7 deadly sins thing. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know, there's kind of very little to this story. Now! Before you think I'm starting to rant, I am. But one thing I do want to say about this is that this was a very easy read. In fact, it was quite a decent read. Now, it's not going to be what I'm going to sit there and go, oh, this is in my top 10 overpowered characters, fantasy, isekai titles. No. In fact, what I'm going to say about this one is that this is the perfect title if you just came off something heavy. Now, I've been reading Infinite Dendrogram. I came off a huge arc that spanned 3 volumes in Infinite Dendrogram, and I checked out Berserk of Gluttony. And after reading that, I was kind of like, you know what? That was a nice palate cleanser. It didn't really do anything special, but it didn't really stink up the place. It kind of just did its job, give you the bare minimum, and it was pretty okay for that. The characters, nothing special. I can see the main character being pretty popular. He genuinely feels like a kind of a, you know, the usual, oh, down on me luck, things aren't going too well, and then gets overpowered, gets the girl. From the looks of the other covers of the series, looks like he's getting many girls, and you know, we kind of have that whole thing. And yeah, I can see if you know, late teens, early 20s, yeah, I can see that this character is going to be pretty cool, you know, his eyes flash when he gets hungry, and yeah, he's kind of fine as that kind of thing. Just don't expect anything from this. I mean, let's face it, it's one of those titles that I can't recommend over anything else, because there's so many more titles that do it better. And the overpowered trope is done so many times that this just sadly fails to stand out. But I will not say this is a bad series, because I genuinely had an okay time with it. It was a perfect palate cleanser. I came off Infinite Dendrogram. It kind of broke it up a little bit for me. And now I can go on to something like 86 or, you know, Rascal Does Not Dream. Something with a little bit more meat that you might come off another similar series and just go, oh, you know, I've read a difficult series. Oh, I want to have something a little bit more relaxed. This is a perfect title if you want something a little bit more relaxed. Now, I did post on Reddit that I had read this, and a few people did say that there is a little bit more meat gets added to this as the series goes on, which is perfectly fine. Like I said, this is volume 1 review only, so maybe it gets super amazing as it goes on, but you know what? I'm kind of tempted to just check it out at some point if I just want a series where I'm just kind of like, oh, I feel like I need to read something a little bit easy, a little bit turn your brain off, you know, nonsense overpowered characters. This one I probably would come back to rather than say, you know, one of the ridiculous ones that I just didn't have fun with, you know, Buck Naked in Another World or Eminence of Shadow or something like that, where I just I wasn't a huge fan of them, so I probably won't return to them. But yeah. And that's probably all I can really see about it. I kind of feel like you've kind of not spoken about the mechanics of it, but it's an overpowered character who gets the girl and maybe other girls and is overpowered and fights monsters and upgrades and gets stats and all sorts. You've read one of them, you've pretty much read them all. However, if you do want an overpowered character, subscribe to the channel, because next time we are looking at, suppose a kid from the last dungeon boonies moves to a starter town. That's right, a title that I've had for a long time, we're going to review. So, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, leave a like, recommend to me a title to read in the comments, because hey, I'm always up for new titles and I'll spend all that lucrative YouTube money on more books to review and share to you guys. And I'll see you next time. Goodbye.